Hey, welcome to That Guy Talks Movies. I'm That Guy Talking Movies. And on this episode, we're going to talk about the recent I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston biopic. I actually went to the theater to see this, and I will start up front by saying, save your money. You don't need to go to a theater to see this. I was actually a little disappointed that I did. But at the same point, there's that part of me in the back of my head that says, you want to support the film, you want to support the filmmakers, and support the whole production and filmmaking industry. So, all right, maybe I don't feel so bad about supporting it. But I will say that it doesn't warrant being seen on a big screen. It's not that big of a picture. It is not that big of a deal. And we're going to get into it on this episode of I Want to Dance with Somebody. On this episode of That Guy Talks Movies. Hey, welcome to That Guy Talks Movies. I'm that guy who talks movies. And if you are into the same thing and you haven't subscribed yet and you like hearing about movies and discussing movies and film reviews and collecting media, home media, 4K content and all that wonderful stuff, go ahead and hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell so you know when I put up new content. For those of you who stick with me and keep watching my videos and keep commenting and putting all the love out there, I truly appreciate y'all. All right, let's get into it. So, okay, this will be short and to the point. I was interested in seeing this movie. I'm a huge Whitney Houston fan. I thought she was the greatest voice of all time. I'm sure many agree with that. And I was also very much in love with her when I was young. She was like one of my first crushes. I thought Whitney Houston, the moment I laid eyes on that woman, I was like, oh, whoa. This is a picture that I feel, considering who she was and the fact that she meant so much to so many around the world and who she, like her legacy, it felt like this picture should have been much grander. It should have been given much more attention, much more money, and it should have been given much more time. It's a slightly lengthy film, not too long, but I just feel it's an underwhelming effort, for such an iconic, memorable person, a personality and a voice. And this drops the ball, and it feels like a very rushed effort from scene to scene to scene. And it follows a typical biopic, musician history film structure where, you've got the nobody that has a dream and wants to live a dream and then becomes, gets their first taste of success, first record deal, first time they hear their song on the radio. And it's that scene where they're all jumping up and down. It's very, 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 typical, standard thing when it comes to that. And then, of course, you've got the ups and downs of success, the rise to success. Everything's great. Everything's great. We're making money, buying a house, getting a car. Everything's great. And then things start to take a turn, right? And as we know about Whitney's career and about Whitney's life, if you're a Whitney Houston fan at all, you kind of know a lot of the stuff, right? You know the behind the scenes stuff and the stuff with Bobby Brown. And, her love life and things regarding drugs and the eventual, ending of it all, the sad ending to the whole thing, the sad conclusion to it. So I believe that the point here was to show a lot of the stuff that maybe some people didn't know, or let's get into Whitney's life besides just the songs. The problem with this film is this is just basically highlights. It's like stitched together highlights of Whitney's moments in terms of stage performances, making of music videos and such, like highlighting her performances. The Super Bowl performance being obviously at the pinnacle of all that, right? The American Music Awards performance. That's what this is. It's stitched together. And then in between the moments leading to these performance pieces, it's just barely scratching the surface, and it doesn't really doesn't work to show any real depth, right, for any of the characters whatsoever. I think the Bobby Brown casting was totally wrong, and you didn't get much there. I didn't believe a lot of the scenes between, him and Naomi Ackie, who's playing Whitney Houston, by the way. But I feel like there was a lot that they tried to put stuff in there and say, yeah, well, this happened too, but it was not anything really deep. It felt like a transition to get to the next performance piece. Let's get into those performance pieces, and let's get into Naomi Ackie now. This is where it gets controversial as far as I'm concerned. Me thinking about how I'm going to talk about this and this next particular point I'm going to make. Whitney Houston, for me, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I was in love with. She was just a stunning woman. And there's a line even in this movie where the gentleman is first bringing her to the attention of Clive Davis, played brilliantly by Stanley Tucci, by the way. And he mentions that this woman had supermodel looks, like she's like a supermodel, plus she has this talented voice like that you never heard before. Now that's true. So in this case, from a casting perspective, no disrespect to Naomi Ackie as far as being a beautiful woman, I don't think she's not even close to the category of gorgeous that Whitney Houston had. And the smile and the look that Whitney gave, and her statuesque, her figure, like everything, I don't think Naomi Ackie comes close. In this day and age, do we have performances by actors that don't necessarily look identical to the people they're playing? Sure. You know, I mean, Jamie obviously took on the Ray role and actually morphed. He looked like Ray. So a combination of the makeup and this, obviously the glasses and such, and the overall way he captured Ray, you thought you were looking at Ray Charles. Malcolm, I'll give you another example. Denzel Washington playing Malcolm X, which I reviewed on this channel previously, the Criterion of Malcolm X. If you haven't seen that, check it out. But Denzel, when the casting first happened for that, it was like, okay, Denzel's this dark-skinned brother and Malcolm was this high yellow, red-boned, light-skinned brother. How is that going to work? But Malcolm's performance, Denzel's performance as Malcolm was so insanely good, so otherworldly, that not for 1 second did you give a crap about, well, he doesn't look exactly like him. Who cares? Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody recently, right? Which I believe the same screenwriter for I Want to Dance with Somebody, Anthony McCartan, he wrote Bohemian Rhapsody. The performance there by Rami Malek, while not perfect, it did garner him an Oscar. He didn't look exactly, he wasn't as tall as Freddie Mercury perhaps, but he had enough of it and he had enough of the nuance in the performance to make you believe it. Same thing with Val Kilmer playing Jim Morrison in the Doors movie, Oliver Stone's The Doors, which is one of my favorite biopics. And there's a picture where Val Kilmer actually looked very much like Jim Morrison in that movie, and he embodied all of the nuance of Jim. Same thing with Chadwick Boseman, late Chadwick Boseman, with playing James Brown. You know, there are other examples. Trying to think. Tina Turner, Angela Bassett playing Tina Turner. Getting to the point, with all due respect to Naomi Ackie, I don't think she captured enough. So if you're not going to look like the part and they're just going to throw wigs on you and have you lip syncing to the woman's music, I think they could have went a different direction and found somebody that was much, much, much more stunning in looks. You kind of need to have that stunning model looking kind of person. And Naomi Accie's performance here, while okay, certainly wasn't riveting enough or believable enough. She didn't capture everything. In fact, I thought she left a lot on the table. I didn't feel like I was listening to Whitney Houston, right? I've heard Whitney in interviews. I've listened to Whitney Houston plenty of times talking when she's angry, when she's depressed, when she's this, when she's that. We've seen enough of Whitney Houston. I don't think Naomi Ackie captured that to such a degree that you feel like, wow, oh my God, she really, really nailed it. And I kind of forgot that she didn't look like Whitney Houston. She didn't have that same look. It just doesn't work here. I don't think it's necessarily her fault. I think it's more of a casting thing. They should have went with someone, I think, personally better looking or closer to the look of Whitney Houston. And to that point, in closing that, if you know, she didn't do the singing. She did some of the singing fill-ins during live moments or things, not live moments on stage, but things behind the scenes where she's practicing something. And in the church in the very beginning when she was in church, she didn't do most of the singing. So all the singing is a dub track. It's Whitney Houston. So if that's the case, you could have cast somebody that looked more the role. And then you could have slapped wigs on them and did it. I feel like most of this movie was a impersonation thing. It was like watching a Whitney Houston impersonator do these different acts, and that's what they highlighted. Now, some might argue that that's the best thing to highlight is her music, her voice, and her performances. Yeah, okay, great, give me that. But if you're going to do a movie, you're going to do a biopic, and you're going to take the time to cover someone's life, someone that important and someone that incredible, a legend, you should go deep into the story. You should really try to give us that, and you should make it so that we get a much better, broader, deeper picture, and that the performances actually work to serve that, right? So it could be the script. I think there were moments in the script that were just blah. I mean, like really trite, terrible writing. But again, I think that the performance on Naomi Accie's part wasn't stellar enough for me to believe that I was watching Whitney Houston. If that, you know, that's how I feel about it. And I don't necessarily think it's her fault. That's her look. And I think performance-wise, it wasn't fantastic. So As far as the supporting cast, Tamara Tooney playing her mother. I think she was great. Every time I see her, I think of Devil's Advocate in that creepy scene where she pulls her dress off and you see the demon go through her body. But anyway, wasn't a bad supporting cast. It just wasn't a great movie. All right. Naomi's performance wasn't fantastic. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad movie. It feels like it could have been a streaming picture on any network and it would have been fine. You can watch this at home and you'll be okay. And if you just want to sort of, listen to Whitney Houston songs and see an impersonator of Whitney Houston, this will kind of work for you. All it really did for me was make me want to go home and actually watch Whitney Houston videos and listen to Whitney Houston music for a couple of days. That's really all it did for me. Nothing else. So in conclusion, I say to you, I would say if you want to support the picture, you want to go and, if it's a financial thing, comes down to production, supporting the film industry, go ahead. I think I'd feel bad saying don't go to a theater. I will say it doesn't warrant you going to a theater. All right. It doesn't require it. It's a film you can watch at any given point on Netflix or something. When it gets there, you can pause it, get up, go to the bathroom. It's not one of the things you need to really focus on. It's not going to grab you that much. You're not going to be swelling up with tears at any given point. There's nothing here other than some memorable moments of Whitney Houston captured by a Whitney Houston impersonator with wigs and outfits. It's really all it is. And there's the bell. Anyway, that's it for me on That Guy Talks Movies. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button on the way out. Again, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when I put up new content. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the movie, if you have seen it, if you're planning on seeing it, if you're going to go to a theater see it, or if you're going to wait for it to go on streaming and see it. Let me know. Also, as this this won't be my last video of the year. I got another one coming, but if I don't talk to you soon and I don't have that video up before I say happy holidays, everyone. We've got Christmas coming this Sunday, so enjoy. Much love to your families and everyone, and I will see you on the next That Guy Talks Movies.